Why Luton?
Why not? No, Luton's a really important town. It's got a huge working class community. It's got a lot of the features of a lot of towns in this country where jobs are going, people are working outside of this town now. They've got housing problems, there's a lot of deprivation. People are feeling the pinch in this town as they are elsewhere. And it's important we come to places like this because people in towns like this are often overlooked when it comes to talking about the big political questions in the country at large.
Politically, it's a small red dot in a sea of blue.
Mm.
And a lot of people think that's why the town is underfunded, because it's not a Tory constituency. Do you think that could be a contributing factor?
Well, we heard that tonight from some of the different faith groups we spoke to about how funding is, and expenditure, particularly in health and in other areas, is redirected away from places like this towards more affluent areas. And we heard that when Rishi Sunak made those comments in that video. So it's really important we get away from this kind of postcode lottery and funding of public services and get back to proper services for people where they need them.
When you walk around the town, can you tell that it's underfunded?
Absolutely, it reminds me of lots of places I visit when I'm around the country. You can see that people are struggling, you can see the shops closing down, you can see people are finding it really difficult, and that's no surprise. We've had wages falling for 30 years now. We've got a housing crisis where people can't afford their rent. We've got prices going through the roof at this time. And so it's no wonder you're seeing people really struggling, particularly in places like this, where job opportunities are few, wages are not high, a lot of the work is outside of the town, and you can just see things going backwards. And it doesn't have to be like that. It can be a lot better.
What does better look like?
In my view, better looks very simple. We've got to bring profits down. We've got to address the cost of living crisis through the wage packet in the first instance. We've got to get people's wages up. There's a huge portion of people now in this country that are in work poverty. That's got to be stopped. We've got to see people paid properly for the work that they do. And we've got to have investment in areas like this. We've got to bring jobs back to places where they're going. We've got to improve the housing stock where they've been let to run down. And we've got to make sure the public services that are around are fit for the people that need to use them. And that's got to be delivered through, I think, getting rid of some of the private elements in there that are making a pound note out of this and returning them to a concept of public ownership, democratically owned for the public good.
When the tabloids write about Luton, they talk about no-go zones, or they talk about multi-faiths not getting on.
Yeah.
Is that your experience of Luton?
Well, certainly not from today. I mean, we visited various communities in the town today, and one thing they've all got in common is that they're working tirelessly to help people in this cost of living crisis, and they're working in conjunction with each other. They're cooperating across all kinds of different small campaigns. And they're trying to fill the gap that's been left by government. They're trying to fill the gap that's been left by proper investment. So they're looking after people that can't afford to eat. They're looking after people that are finding it really difficult. And it's great what they're doing, and it's great in the way that they're doing it, and that's cross-community and right throughout the town. But really, it shouldn't have to be like that. These are fundamental issues for people that live in this country, and they should be delivered by central government.
What do you think a no-go zone means?
I think what they're talking about is the polarisation of different communities in towns like this, and I think it's something that I worry about. When times are hard, what people do is they try to create scapegoats, and what my worry is in this cost of living crisis, you'll start to see the stories. The reason you can't get a good job is because of those people down the road that don't look like you. The reason you can't get housing where you live is because of those people down the road who don't look like you, rather than we've got a country that's extremely wealthy. The rich have never been richer, there's profits going through the roof, and that money keeps going to the people at the top, and it doesn't go to where it's needed for the people in this country. So we've got to make sure we don't allow the argument to drift in those dangerous directions where they're creating scapegoats and trying to blame people.
Going on strike again?
Going on strike on the 1st. Very pleased to say that we're going on strike alongside Unite the Union, the TSSA, ASLEF, the CWU. I think the GMB might be out on strike on the 1st as well, but I'm not entirely certain. So what we're seeing now is a growing wave of industrial action across the country. We're seeing nurses now and teachers getting ready to ballot for industrial action alongside the fire brigade. So that's coming later on. And I think what that points to is the fact that workers who kept this country moving and kept this country working during a health emergency are now being told, you've got to have your pay frozen, you've got to have your jobs made worse and harder. And at the same time, we're going to slash taxes for the rich. The bankers' bonuses can go back through the roof again. Prices can go sky high, and the money can keep going to the people at the top. So I think people have had enough of that. That you're seeing that expression now through the trade unions. that are taking strike action on the 1st. But the Enough is Enough campaign is calling a day of action alongside that on the 1st. And there'll be mass protests in 13 cities. And that's the start, I feel, of working class people and ordinary people in this country standing up and saying we're not going to take this anymore.
Do you think that's why attitudes are changing towards strikes? Because everyone is being forced to go?
I think it is, and it's very difficult to use the old, this is the greedy railway unions holding the country to ransom line at a time where absolutely everyone in this country has seen their living standards go backwards really sharply, sharpest fall out of any of the countries in the G7. And we're in the middle of this crisis, and it's pretty clear to people where the priorities for our politicians lie, and that is lining the pockets of the rich at the expense of everyone else. Now, that's got to change, and it's not going to come unless ordinary people in this country create that pressure to force the politicians in that direction. And I think we're seeing the start of that now. And I'm really confident that there's a real change coming, and it's going to be delivered by ordinary people, pushing the politicians into doing the right thing.
You're going to Labour conference?
I'm not going to Labour Party conference now.
Because a lot of people would want you to go to Labour conference, I could imagine.
Yeah, well, I'm not a Labour Party member, and my trade union's not affiliated to the Labour Party, so we have got some fringe events up there that will be attended by other people, but I'm not going, I've got other work to do.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.